I watched someone I loved stop caring and become unstoppable. He used to apologize for things he never owed. He used to bend until the bones of his dignity creaked. And one afternoon, I saw him in a cafe with a face I did not recognize. 3 years had passed since the last time we spoke. He did not look broken. He looked dangerous in the best sense, deliberate, calm, immune to small cruelties. He said one sentence that landed like a verdict. He said, "The world did not change. I did. I stopped answering what was not mine." That hit me because I realized his story is also yours. There are two versions of you. The version that pleads, explains, and exhausts itself trying to be needed, and the version that protects its energy, draws clear limits, and refuses to be a resource for the careless. You have been living as the first for too long. It has been draining you of leverage, of peace, of authority. Today, I will lay out 8 shifts that make you dangerous in the precise way you need. Not cruel, but impenetrable. Each shift is a practical cut, a change of posture, a script to use. If you follow them, you will stop giving away access and start commanding respect. Before we begin, write in the comments, "I will not be broken again." Machiavelli warned that power requires clarity. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Use that as a lens, not as an excuse. This video will teach you how to protect your borders, how to practice strategic indifference, and how to rebuild a life where your energy is a privilege, never an obligation. The pattern that got you here is predictable. You were raised to value compassion and connection, and you took that as permission to be available. You learned to translate kindness into constant availability. You learned to explain when silence would have secured respect. You learned to shoulder responsibility for other people's emotions and to confuse sacrifice with worth. In my early 20s, I did the same. The first backstory: I was the person who always stayed late at a job that ignored me, who paid for lunches to be accepted by colleagues named Alex, Priya, and Marcus. I smelled stationery glue and coffee every night in the office. I felt the ache behind my ribs like a slow instrument, and I heard the clack of keyboards and soft laughter of people who never invited me out. I told myself it was temporary. The second backstory: at home, I held space for my father James while he made promises he never kept. I forgave Maria for bad behavior at parties. I listened to Elena recount the same drama until I had no words left. My throat tasted metallic from swallowing words, and I slept in a room that smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and dust because I was too tired to change anything. The third backstory: I stayed in relationships where Sophie left, leaving a trail of excuses, where Daniel expected my patience like entitlement, and where I watched my own life recede like tidewater. Those 3 paragraphs are not pity. They are evidence. They explain how you learn to trade boundaries for acceptance. The point is this: the problem is not that you cared. The problem is that you did not place limits on your caring. That lack of boundary became a pattern of manipulation and energy leak. You are about to meet 8 precise shifts. Think of them as surgical. Each one severs a habit, installs a posture, gives you a sentence to say, and a withdrawal to practice. I will name the shift, show a short example with people who will appear repeatedly in these scenes, then give a script and a rule. Remember the 2 versions of you. Which one will you feed? Before the first shift, if you relate, write now in the comments exactly this phrase: "I will not be broken again." When you write it, you are making a public contract. Other people will see it, and it will help them anchor their own decision. Your words matter. They are small acts of authority. 1. Stop explaining yourself to the entitled. You will replace explanations with statements. Scene: a company meeting where Marcus corners you after hours. Dialogue with 5 exchanges. Marcus says, "Why did you leave the report incomplete?" You answer, I left it where I said I would. Marcus says, but we needed more time. You answer, I set the deadline and I kept it. Marcus says, people will be upset. You answer, if they are upset, they can take it to my manager. Marcus says, you could have stayed later. You answer, my time is not a resource you can withdraw at will. Sensory details. The sharp smell of burnt coffee from Marcus's mug. The fluorescent light buzzing above. The chair scraping against linoleum. The metallic taste of a raised voice. The cold air conditioning on your skin. Script. Say the statement, then go silent. Rule. Statements protect energy. Practice in front of a mirror. 2. Remove access with calm. Scene. A friend group chat where Elena messages you at midnight demanding favors. Dialogue with 4 exchanges. Elena writes, you are always late with money. You reply, I will not lend again. Elena pleads, please just this once. You reply, I am not a bank. Elena says, but we are friends. You reply, friendship does not mean unlimited credit. Sensory. Phone screen glow against your palms, the faint scent of rain from an open window, the distant bass of a neighbor television, the click of keys as you type, the hollow echo in an empty kitchen. Rule. Set a boundary, then enforce a consequence. Consequence could be removing permissions or saying no and meaning it. 3. Practice strategic silence. Scene. A breakup conversation with Sophie. Dialogue with 6 exchanges. Sophie says, we can talk about this. You answer, not tonight. Sophie says, you always avoid. You answer, I choose silence when talking gets toxic. Sophie asks, are you abandoning me? You answer, I am abandoning drama, not people. Sophie says, how can you be so cold? You answer, I am being clear. Sensory. The scent of rain on the street, the rustle of jackets, the soft hum of a refrigerator, the taste of copper when you hold back a retort, the warmth of your breath in the cold air. Rule. Silence gives power because it is the absence they cannot control. 4. Stop rescuing people who refuse change. Scene. A family dinner where James tries to guilt you into solving his finances. Dialogue. With 5 exchanges. James says, I need help again. You answer, I cannot fix what you refuse to fix. James pleads, you are family. You answer, family helps with accountability, not endless bailouts. James says, I will change, I promise. You answer, show me proof for 6 months. Sensory. Gravy steam fogging glasses, the clink of cutlery, the stiff fabric of a suit jacket, the sour smell of cheap wine, the ache behind your sternum. Rule. Replace rescue with demands for proof. 5. Speak consequences before emotions. Scene. Confrontation at work with Alex who keeps taking credit. Dialogue with 4 exchanges. Alex says, you are overreacting. You answer, I am stating a boundary. Alex says, you will lose allies. You answer, I would rather lose allies who take without giving. Alex says, that is harsh. You answer, consequences are fair. Sensory. The stale taste of office air, the scratch of a pen against paper, the cold glass of a water cooler, the distant rumble of traffic, the prick of sweat at your temples. Rule. Name the consequence and follow through. 6. Make indifference a tool. Scene. A text from an ex who wants validation. Dialogue with 4 exchanges. X writes, I miss us. You reply, I do not engage with manipulative nostalgia. X says, you always say that. You reply, I say it because it is true. X says, why are you so indifferent? You reply, indifference is a shield, not a sentence. Sensory. Phone vibration in your palm, the smell of your own coffee in the morning, the soft weight of a blanket, the slightly bitter taste of victory, the calm in the room after you stop answering. Rule. Indifference preserves energy for what matters. 7. Rebuild authority through routine. Scene: morning ritual with your coach, Priya, and friend Daniel watching progress. Dialogue with 5 exchanges. Priya asks, "How was your week?" You answer, "I kept the boundaries I promised." Daniel says, "Did it cost relationships?" You answer, "It refined them." Priya asks, "What changed?" You answer, "I stopped answering what was not mine." Daniel says, "That sounds lonely." You answer, "It sounded lonely at first, and now it sounds like breathing." Sensory: the strong smell of black coffee, the clock ticking, the texture of a towel on your face, the warmth of sunlight on your wrist, the quiet satisfaction in your chest. Rule: routines cement new identity. 8. Keep a margin for recovery. Scene: a crisis where Maria calls expecting immediate support. Dialogue with 4 exchanges. Maria says, "I need help now." You answer, "I will help, but not at the expense of my stability." Maria says, "You always do more." You answer, "Not anymore." Maria says, "So you refuse me?" You answer, "I refuse being consumed." Sensory: the heavy exhale into a phone, the sour tang of stress in the throat, the soft rustle of paper as you check your planner, the relief of setting a call for another day, the steady beat of your own pulse. Rule: schedule support so you are not endlessly available. Interspersed through these shifts are 3 moments that test you and make the stakes real. The first moment of tension came when my manager, Elena, accused me of ambition I did not claim and threatened my role. I felt the floor tilt and my mouth went dry. The room smelled of printer ink and lemon cleaner. My palms left faint prints on the edge of the desk, and the fluorescent light magnified every small tremor. I had practiced the statement in my head. I said, "I will accept feedback, but I will not accept mischaracterization." She pushed back. I did not explain. I named the consequence, and I walked out. The silence behind me filled the office like a wave. That is the moment when being dangerous is not loud. It is exact and quiet and irreversible. The second moment of tension arrived when Sophie returned to distribute blame from months of neglect. Her words were sharp as glass. My throat closed, the kitchen smelled faintly of burnt toast and regret. The radiator hissed, and the world spun with memories. I listened. I answered with one sentence. I ended the call. The third moment of tension was a family meeting with James and Maria where entitlements were negotiated like currency. The room was warm. The candle had a wax run like a scar. The fork clinked against porcelain, and I felt something old wanting to plead. I prevented it by stating a timeline and a demand for proof. The relief that followed was a physical loosening in my shoulders. You will notice I name people intentionally. Throughout this story, characters reappear. Alex at work, Maria the friend in debt, Daniel the skeptical colleague, Priya the coach, Marcus the boundary tester, Elena the manager, James my father, and Sophie the former partner. Those names anchor scenes and create accountability. Use names in your life when you practice boundaries. It is harder to manipulate a person who is named and named again with rules attached. Now, a practical toolkit you can memorize. For each shift, say these small scripts out loud twice a day until they feel natural. For shift 1, say, "I will not explain myself to those who take without giving." For shift 2, say, "Access is a privilege, not a right." For shift 3, say, "I choose silence over empty argument." For shift 4, say, "I am available for growth, not for rescue." For shift 5, say, "Consequences are the language of boundaries." For shift 6, "Indifference is a tool I wield to protect my energy." For shift 7, "My routine builds my authority." For shift 8, "I reserve margin to recover." Practice with a friend or coach. Use small consequences first and escalate only if the pattern continues. Do not be cruel. Be sovereign. If you are listening and you feel resistance, that is natural. Old patterns will scream. People will test you. Marcus will show up more often. Elena will argue harder. Sophie will send nostalgia to elicit guilt. That is the test. Hold. Each time you hold, you add a degree of difficulty to their attempts. They will adjust or leave. Both are victories. Remember Machiavelli again in a shorter form. Do not confuse love with leverage. Love will not ensure boundaries. Authority will. 1 month from now, you will notice small changes. Your calendar will have fewer late-night entries. Alex will stop asking you to cover, or he will be forced to produce proof of need. You will have said no to Maria once and seen her scramble to respect a boundary she previously ignored. Priya will point out that your voice is firmer. Your mornings will smell like coffee and a plan, not like chores you owe someone. People will start to check before they take. That is evidence. At 1 month, you will have practiced scripts and been silent when invitations to overcommit arrive. The discomfort will sting, but you will sleep better. At 3 months, the pattern reverses more visibly. Daniel will begin to refer work back to you when you choose to engage, not when you are coerced. James will have attempted to test you and then apologized because you did not rescue him. Elena will watch your posture in meetings and begin to assign you responsibility instead of stealing your credit. Friends will stop assuming your labor is unlimited. You will find 1 or 2 relationships that cannot adapt, and they will fall away. This is not loss in the way you thought. It is pruning. You will wake up with a margin you have not felt in years, and your calendar will become a map of choices, not obligations. At 6 months, the change becomes visible to others who once dismissed you. Your team at work will adjust its routines to respect deadlines you set. Your circle will show signs of new loyalty because your value is now attached to limits, not to endless availability. You will be less reactive when manipulation appears. Your energy will feel proprietary and intact. You will have memories of the old you feeling crushed by requests, and you will find them foreign. People like Marcus and Sophie will notice and either respect you or reveal themselves as consumers. New people will arrive who treat your boundaries as a standard of engagement. You will sleep deeper. You will hold your phone less. You will say fewer words to defend what you do not owe. In public, your posture will register as authority. People will say to others, it is clear they are not to be taken for granted. Names that once assumed entitlement will now ask rather than demand. This is not a promise of nothing hurting. It is a promise of fewer wounds that last. You will rebuild trust with those who prove steady. You will remove privilege from those who never assumed responsibility. You will begin to enjoy the control you thought power required cruelty for, but you will do it with integrity. Practice the 8 scripts, keep your calendar honest, and use silence as a shield. If you are ready, type now in the comments, I will not be broken again. Subscribe if you want weekly steps and guided scripts to practice these shifts. Share this with someone who gives away their peace like it is pocket change. Remember one final line to carry with you. You are not made to bend until you break. You are made to hold your ground and command your life.